Well, thank you. Somebody said, I don't know whom, but that's economics is a sad science. And the proof of that is that there is no color, no meaningless pictures, only sentences. So that's part of the enemy condition story. Our friends from the EAM tell us that, gives us figures of the amount of investment we need in the energy sector by the middle of the century, okay? Between now and the middle of the century, this gives we have to pass from 2% of the GDP invested in the energy sector to 2.8. That's abstract, that's the figure. And here, obviously, you have some investments who go quickly for low carbon technologies, no surprise, and for energy efficiency, no surprise. Other information, the marginal abatement cost, which is the cost of the marginal ton abated to reach the 1.5 targets, is between 2 to 4 times higher than the 2 degrees C plus rate. To give an order of magnitude, this means between 300 and 400 euro per ton. In the world, $50 per ton, it doubles the cost of cement in India. I'm talking about 400. Okay, fine. That's the end. So the question is in our chapter is, where are the enabling conditions to do that? Because if you don't, so the question is, it's fine. We have this picture, but how to start? Because if you don't do the first step, we do nowhere. And this chapter, for the first time, tried to put this question of action in the overall context of the world economic tensions today. The world is as it is. And this means that we'll go nowhere, we stop very quickly, if the climate action is not perceived as a lever to reduce the fault lines of the world economy now. Something is totally related to the finance, I will go back to there. Huge gap between propensity to save and propensity to invest. We have a lot of money, but we don't invest. Financial system is weak. And we have a strategy in this country makes that we accelerate the confrontation between countries, and this poses some problems. So the question is, how can we respond to that? I have to insist on the fact that I was CLA for the second assessment report. This is the first time that we have a real chapter on finance. I think the historians will explain to us why, in our current state of the capitalism, we wait for now to have a chapter on finance. That's not comment, it's simply for you. What can we do now for finance? Finance is what? It's not only investment, but investment. Finance is how I pick the money somewhere to go there. And between 2015 and 35, the short term, I would say for us, if we pick not only energy, because the EAM have energy, but now we make, we add transportation, buildings, water and telecommunications. Almost 3 times the energy sector alone. Makes things more complex. And we find an average annually increase of investment represented by 2.5 of the world savings. Does it mean you produce 800, you save 200, you have to redirect 5 out of these 200. You can say after all 5 is not so large, but it's not so easy. Because that's your money. What is world savings? It is not an abstract macroeconomic story. It's where people like me, like you, put the money to be secure that you have some pension fund somewhere when you be retired, very old, there are people who pay for you. Not, This is serious, this is not abstract. Because sometimes the people say, finance is fine. No, that's you and me. So, to add to that, we have to add the redirection of investment within each sector. No figure in the report because the one sentence is roughly 3 times higher, okay, within a sector. And we have to reduce the sectoral mismatch between the current capital flows and the financial needs. To be frank, sectoral mismatch, what amount of money goes to the real estates and land, what amount should go to local investments. Mismatch amongst countries. A lot of people, we talk about North-South relations. The North has to help the South and think in terms of North-South transfers. But in many cases, the transfers go from the South to the North. So the rich people from the South invest in the North because the North are more safe. Mixing this 0.5%, this 5%, this 2.5% becomes more complicated because you have to revert the flow. It's not a problem of quantity. I pick there and I go there. To do that, simply that's a box simply which is published in our simply to give you the consciousness that you have a lot of figures on all the top. You have energy, demand side, and zero, no information on transportation and other infrastructures. Only OECD consolidated the data. There's a huge problem. It goes back to the 80s. No link between the people who work on energy and people who work on transportation. That's a problem of scientific responsibility, and we have to bridge this gap as soon as possible. How to operate this reduction of work savings? Fortunately, since 5-10 years, we have an emerging and relatively strong now flow of literature, which is good news, after all. Obviously, that's obvious, huh? Public and private investment. What does it mean on the private investment? You pick the capital, yearly capital revenues of private capital revenues of the world. It means the increase of the value of your capital and the interest, sum of the two. You pick that, and you have simply to transfer between 5.6%, that's falsely precise, okay, that's okay, 5.6% to 8.3% of these flows. Again, workable, but how to do that? You have to do two things jointly, and here comes the complexity, and we have literature on both sides. You have to de-risk low carbon investment. Low carbon investment has to be less risky because people don't invest because they are risky. They prefer to buy houses and to invest in land. Okay, then we have to do that. How to do that? Feeding tariffs, subventions, but states are under severe public constraints. So, imagine standard literature on the use of public guarantees. Then in the guarantee, you pay only if project fails. And this is how Europe funded this highway revolution at the end of the 19th century. So we have to have that. Return development of financial actors, institutional investors, and bond markets. In concrete, people buy bonds instead of investing in real estate. The last thing, the other side of the medal, we have to facilitate access of capital market to low interest rates, and then that's the whole of the banking system. The loans cheaper because they risk, and the emergence of the class of low carbon assets. We are in Poland. Means that Poland and the other countries, the other producing countries, and ourselves, we can say, well, I will not use this asset I have, this asset I have there, or because I can have access to new class of clean assets. Okay, like that's it. So. At the end, now, I will pass very quickly on the fact that under adoption finance, almost nothing. We have no real information. You can comment if you want, but so I skipped. So it's difficult to quantify. And now the problem is, what is the link between finance and the policy instruments? No carbon tax will fund that, okay? Because the carbon tax, you have enough with the carbon tax to compensate for the adverse effect of a carbon tax. So the idea, we insist on the fact that, and that is now totally embedded in the literature, that the policy package that we have on board since decades have to be there to mitigate the adverse impacts of higher marginal cost of energy. This means that they cannot be put on the table in the absence of a global evolution of fiscal and financial systems, which means a systemic change in finance and fiscal systems. Not easy, but if you don't do that, you have the problem that my country suffers from since 3 weeks. This means that you have to play with prices, implicit or explicit, reforms of the subsidies, and also the reforms of other prices. If you don't control, and there are some papers there now, if you don't control the dynamics of housing cost, which is linked to the dynamics of the price of the real estate, but you can raise a carbon tax, but you need a very high level of carbon tax to control that. So not only the carbon price matter, the prices of other goods and here the land, stores, and so on. So you need that. Obviously, it has to be linked to the working of the performance standards, R&D and technology. Everybody knows that. And obviously, we need the existence of compensating transfers for the population which is most vulnerable to the energy prices. If you want, I will comment on that, but I think now, my personal vision, that the word compensating transfer might be the you know what I mean, you have a tax and then you compensate for the losers, it's fine. Now, I will stop there. Je tiens mon temps, mon vieux, ça, toujours. And personal thing, that's in the report, and that's really critical. Literature is not perhaps strong enough on that, but we have to reinforce it. Some of the policy applications are really a problem of sovereignties by countries. But part of them, there are sub-sovereign initiatives, the cities, local communities, and so on. And part of them are really preconditioned by the international cooperation, which is very important. When you talk about finance, you can reform finance in all countries. Okay. So that's the end. The question of the reform of the ODA is really critically important. That's the problem of the evolution of the multilateral development banks. And this cannot be made only by nations. So I stop here, so I'm